That's true.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So she's, in many ways, Garrett knows she's a lot smarter than I am today on this stuff anyway, because she wants to make sure that she's independent. So she has her own corporations. I have my own corporations, my own investments, and things like that.
Well, you wouldn't want me dependent on you.
No, I don't.
That wouldn't work either. What's happened is as we become more and more independent, our relationship changes because for me personally, my self-respect goes up, my confidence goes up, and all of a sudden we don't need each other anymore. It's like we want to be together, but that dependency isn't there anymore, and that's made a huge difference. So times have changed, and what's worked for our mothers and our grandmothers may not work for us and our daughters and our granddaughters. And there's some startling statistics I want to share with you. This is in the US, but I see the same pattern happening throughout the world, which is one of the statistics is 47% of women over the age of 50 are single, meaning they are dependent for their financial well-being. And many of us have heard the statistic, 1 out of 2 marriages ends in divorce. So if she was counting on Prince Charming, think again, and who usually ends up with the children? The woman. So she's now responsible for herself and her kids. The first year on average after a divorce, a woman's standard of living drops 74%. His does not. And if you're concerned about your mothers or your grandmothers, of the elderly, there's statistics all over the place, but of the elderly living in poverty, 3 out of 4 are women. And the most interesting thing is 80% of those women were not poor when their husbands were alive. So what the statistics tell me is that as women, especially as we become older, we have not been educated, we have not been prepared to take care of ourselves financially, and now more than ever it's more important to do so. And it's not rocket science, as Robert's sharing with you and the advisors will share with you. It's not rocket science. It takes some time, it takes some education. We always say start small, expect to make mistakes, and take little steps, take baby steps to get there. And I'm actually a very good example of somebody that knew absolutely nothing when it came to money and investing. And it was in 1989, Robert came to me and he said, "Kim, it's time you start investing." And I didn't even know what the word meant. You know, I've seen the Wall Street Journal, that's about it. So he started to teach me what his rich dad taught him. And then I was kind of sent out on the street to go figure it out. And to make a long story short, my very first investment was a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in Portland, Oregon. It was $45,000. I was going to have to put $5,000 down, and it was going to give me a cash flow of $50 a month. And I was so proud of it. But I'll tell you, when Kenny talks about due diligence, I was so scared. I was terrified. What if I make a mistake? What if the tenant moves out? What if? I did due diligence 10 times more than I needed to do. I was so scared. I didn't trust myself. I didn't know what I was doing. But finally the day came to close on the property. And we're in the office of the real estate agent, and 2 things happened. One, they needed my signature, and it was really hard to get because my hand was shaking so bad. And the other problem was they couldn't pry that $5,000 check out of my hand. But I did that deal, and I went on to do more and more, and with every deal I did, I learned something new. And there's nothing more valuable than the actual experience that you get, and nobody can tell you about it until you actually get out there and do it. So today I control millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate. I keep learning every day. I keep getting more and more educated. And it all started with that little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It started with a little education, and it started with that first step. And just a little inside story.
Go ahead and tell.
I can tell it? Okay. When Robert talked about that deal that I did where we borrowed the $8 million, he wasn't real involved in it at the time. And this time, instead of walking into a real estate agent's office, we walked into the attorney's boardroom. There were like 15 banker's boxes full of documents and paperwork. And we had everything was lined up to sign, and he looks at me and he goes, "What did you borrow? How much did you borrow? What are you doing? What is this?"
And when she said, $8 million, I said, You're borrowing $8 million? And so we came deciding she was calm as a cucumber, and then they passed the thing to me. I was like, $8 million? What has my wife bought here? So the rules have changed anyway.
The rules have changed. And I want to say, if I can do it, I mean, I started from nothing. If I can do it, you can do it. It's not rocket science.
It's just more zeros. That's about the only difference.
Well, it's, as Kenny said, it's the same, whether it's Hong Kong or Phoenix or wherever, it's the same formula, just more zeros.
So if we can encourage you, the reason we showed this wreckage of this car here, most people think investing is risky. What is really risky is not being in control and taking bad financial advice. Does that make sense, you guys here? So thank you very much. And
just one last thing I'd like to say to women, one final statistic, because I think it's very important.
They always get the last word, you notice?
Which is that the statistics studies come out and said that only 20% of baby boomer women will be financially secure in retirement. That means 80% of us will not be. So I really want to thank you for being here and thank you for listening and watching this program, because again, it's just education, and by taking those steps, you're saying, I'm going to be part of that 20% and not part of that 80%. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. Okay, when we come back, we'll go into how to listen to good advisors, because as I said, I didn't do well in school, but I always surround myself with very smart A-student advisors. And I'll have my advisors, they'll be talking about what they do and how you find good advisors for yourself. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you very much.